Thank you for joining me today as I help guide you through understanding your workers' compensation program. My name is Lauren Traylor, and I'm the Program Development Director for the Alabama Self-Insured Workers' Compensation Fund, also known as the Fund, a fund that has been protecting Alabama employers and their employees for more than 43 years. This presentation provides general information and should not be construed as specific legal, HR, financial, insurance, tax, or accounting advice. As with all matters of a legal or human resources nature, you should consult with your own legal counsel and human resources professionals. The fund shall not be liable for any direct, indirect, special, consequential, incidental, punitive, or exemplary damages in connection with the use by you or anyone of the information provided in this presentation. Today, I will be giving an overview of workers' compensation, which is very often overlooked and undervalued, and why it's important to seek an expert to help you design the best program for your company. The key to providing a safer work environment for your employees and saving more money to your bottom line is recognizing that workers' compensation is a high-value product. I'll go over the impact worker injuries have on the workplace and the often overlooked financial impact. And lastly, I'll review several trends that are impacting workers' compensation, some in a positive way and others in a not-so-positive way. First and foremost, it's important to understand a valuable tool in your toolbox, the use of an independent agent to help guide you through the process of making sure all of your insurance needs are met. And when things happen beyond your control, your business is protected. Independent agents are licensed professionals who specialize in understanding the nuances of insurance. Just like you run a business because you're good at what you do, independent agents are experts at guiding you through the insurance maze. They have access to more choices and can offer you choices that fit your business needs, all with just one call, one-stop shopping. Your fingers don't need to do the walking when theirs will. In addition, by using an independent agent, you have someone who is in your corner, advocating for you when claims arise. And your independent agent is also your neighbor, familiar with your business and your community, working by your side to make it the best it can be. Now let's go over some not so fun fast facts. According to the most recent data available from the National Safety Council, more than $171 billion was spent on work-related injuries, which was up more than $30 million from the year before. And just so you know, these numbers are pre-COVID. The average cost of a work-related injury was more than $42,000, which was up more than $12,000 from the year before. There were more than 105 million days away from work by injured employees, and the average cost of a work-related death was more than $1 million. In Alabama, 2.5 employees per 100 experienced a recordable work-related injury, accounting for more than $636 million being spent on work-related injuries and death. Alabama's Workers' Compensation Division administers the state's workers' compensation system. Workers' compensation is important because it can help protect both employers and employees. For employers, workers' compensation helps limit liabilities and protect against double compensation, penalties, and fines. For employees, this coverage provides benefits when they suffer a work-related injury or illness. It also provides partial wage replacement if they need time off from work to recover. All employers with at least 5 employees need workers' compensation in Alabama. Alabama state law counts part-time workers, corporate officers, and members of an LLC as employees. Some employees who don't need workers' compensation include domestic employees working in private homes, farm workers, casual employees who don't have guaranteed work hours, and municipalities with less than 2,000 residents. Businesses need proof of coverage to prove they have workers' compensation coverage. Also known as a certificate of insurance, this document can also detail who and what the policy covers. To comply with state laws, you can get Alabama's workers' compensation coverage through commercial carriers, self-insurance group funds, such as the fund, fully self-insure, or go to an assigned risk pool. Alabama's Workers' Compensation Division administers the state's workers' compensation system. So what is covered? Workers' compensation can help cover an employee's medical treatment costs if they have a work-related injury or illness. It also limits an employer's liability. Employers are protected under exclusive remedy provisions in Alabama's workers' compensation law. A few examples of what workers' compensation can cover include missed wages. Sometimes an employee's work-related injury or illness is so severe they need to take time off from work. Workers' compensation can help replace some of their lost wages. The amount paid is equal to 66 2/3% of the employee's average weekly wage. The benefit is subject to the maximum and minimum amount, which is specified by Alabama state law. Employees receive the benefit after a 3-day waiting period. An authorized treating physician also needs to approve the time away from work. Ongoing care. Sometimes a work-related injury or illness may require ongoing care, even after the employee returns to work. This can include additional surgeries or physical therapy. Workers' compensation helps cover an employee's ongoing care costs. Funeral costs. If an employee dies from a work-related cause, their family can receive benefits to help pay funeral costs. Disability. Sometimes an injury or illness can leave an employee temporarily or permanently disabled. Disabled employees can receive workers' compensation benefits. Permanent partial disability payments can be paid weekly or in a lump sum. And legal costs associated with the claim. Now let's look at what is not covered by workers' compensation. The cost of replacing an injured employee is not provided under workers' compensation coverage. The cost to improve workplace safety, such as purchasing no-fog safety glasses or non-slip mats. If OSHA cites your workplace and as a result you face a financial fine, those costs are not covered, nor are third-party damages. Third-party liability may arise when an individual or entity that is separate from the employer causes the workplace accident. There are timelines employers and insurers need to follow for workers' compensation claims, including work-related injuries should be reported to the insurance coverage carrier using the employer's first report of injury as soon as possible. The fund asks that the employer's first report of injury be submitted within 3 days of being notified of the employee injury. The more severe the injury, the sooner the claim should be reported. Once a claim is approved, there is a 3-day waiting period before wages are paid. Missed wages are paid at 66 2/3% of the employee's average weekly wage, subject to the Alabama maximum and minimum. After the 3-day waiting period, the indemnity period or disability period starts on the 4th day an employee is out of work. Payment of compensation benefits should be paid within 30 days after it has become due, unless there is a sufficient reason it has not been paid. Except in the case of an emergency, the employer directs the care from the moment the injury notice has been given, not after treatment has been ongoing. Upon approval of the workers' compensation claim, the employer is responsible for paying only medical bills associated with the injury in question. After making the first compensation payment, a supplementary report should be filed with the state within 10 days. The statute of limitations of workers' compensation claim is 2 years from the date of injury, or 2 years from the date of the last compensation payment. As mentioned previously, there are 3 main ways to comply with Alabama state workers' compensation laws. The most important thing to understand is that unlike auto or homeowners insurance coverage, there is no menu of coverages for an employer to choose from. The state mandates what coverage you will provide. Hence, each coverage option provides the same coverage for you and your employees. In just a few moments, we will delve deeper into what makes the difference. Employers can choose to be covered by commercial insurance carriers. 100% of the risk is put on the commercial carrier. These carriers are for-profit companies, and any profits made go directly back to the shareholders of the company. Employers can also choose to be covered under a self-insured group fund. Currently, there are 17 active funds in the state of Alabama. Some of those are homogeneous, meaning they cover businesses that are similar. For instance, the Alabama Trucking Association Workers' Comp Fund only covers trucking-related entities. Other funds are heterogeneous, meaning they cover a variety of industry types, such as the fund. We cover retail, commercial contractors, manufacturing, healthcare, and many other types of companies. Companies join together as members of a fund and share the risk, and if there is a profit, the money is shared among the members of the fund in the form of a dividend, retrospective credit, or some other way. The third way to be covered is for a company to take on all of the risk and become fully self-insured. Fully self-insured programs must be approved by the state. The old adage, you get what you pay for, truly applies to workers' compensation coverage. So what are the components of good coverage? First and foremost are loss control services. What do I mean by that? An ounce of prevention is worth thousands of dollars of cure. The best way to keep your costs down is to prevent injuries in the first place by providing a safe work environment. A good provider works with you as a partner to evaluate your workplace and the potential injury points. They will also look at your past injuries to determine what preventative measures can be put in place to avoid more injuries. Sometimes accidents happen despite the best preventative measures, and when that happens, it is important to have a proactive claims management team on your side, working with medical providers, you, and your employees to ensure a successful conclusion is reached. In addition, good coverage will encompass ongoing educational services. This includes providing information such as safety posters and toolbox talk topics and training to manage your workers' compensation program. It's time to look at the top 5 causes of workplace injuries. Let's start from number 5, transportation accidents. They account for more than $3.2 billion in work-related injury costs each year. There are 7 injuries per 10,000 full-time equivalent employees, or a little more than 5.5% of the total workplace injuries. And 1,270 workers died in 2019 in work-related crashes, 24% of all deaths. Transportation accidents cost employers an average of $81,000 per claim. The 4th leading cause of workplace injuries is workplace violence, which accounts for more than 1.2 million lost workdays each year. The 3rd leading cause of injury, being struck by or caught in moving machinery, which results in $5.3 billion each year in work-related injury costs, and a little over 9% of the total. Number 2, slips, falls, and trips, accounting for $11.2 billion. These account for 1/4 of all injuries in the workplace. And number 1 on the list is overexertion, which accounts for $13.7 billion in work-related injury costs each year and accounted for almost 1/3 of all injuries. What are the specific injuries that are driving workers' compensation costs? Fractures come in at number 5 on the list and cost an average of $60,000 per claim, resulting in 5% of all claims and on average 81 days away from work. Number 4 are inflammation, which costs an average of $35,000 per claim and accounts for almost 5% of all claims. 3rd on the list are lacerations, punctures, and cuts, which account for 12% of all claims and an average of $33,000 per injury. Number 2 is contusions and bruises and cost an average of $32,000 per claim and account for almost 21% of all claims. And number 1, sprains, tears, and strains, which account for almost 30% of all injuries and cost an average of $34,000 per claim. Now let's transition to the top 5 issues impacting workers' compensation, both positively and negatively. Let's start with the positive. There has been an increased emphasis by employers of promoting workplace safety and creating safer workspaces. The results can be seen in a decrease in workers' compensation injury frequency. As I mentioned earlier, an ounce of prevention is worth thousands of dollars in cure. If frequency is going down, why are costs rising? One trend impacting that is the rise in comorbidities. A comorbidity is the presence of 2 or more medical diagnoses at the same time. For instance, diabetes and a workplace injury resulting in a broken leg. The diabetes impedes the body's ability to heal and thus causes the cost of the injury and the time needed to recover to increase. Common comorbidities in addition to diabetes include obesity, hypertension, depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. All of this is leading to the long-term health complications and an increase in injury severity. That injury severity leads to an increase in mega claims. A claim is defined as a mega claim when it reaches $3 million or more. The hardest hit industries include construction, office and clerical, and manufacturing. The leading cause of these mega claims are head and brain injuries and neck and spine injuries. In fact, the head is the number 1 body part impacted by work-related injuries and costs on average almost $90,000 per claim. We've heard a lot about workforce shortages lately and its impact on everything from the price of groceries, fast food, to airline tickets. But did you know it is also having an impact on workers' compensation claims? Labor shortages are resulting in more inexperienced workers in the workforce, and workers younger than 25 years old have a higher rate of injury treated in emergency rooms than any other age group. In addition, companies are holding on to their older workforce, who have often comorbidities and a complacency about how to do the job. It is imperative that organizations continue to promote safe workplaces and a positive work culture to prioritize injury prevention. Lastly, let's look at medical marijuana. 37 states, including Alabama, have now legalized medical marijuana for use in treating medical conditions. Medical marijuana will not be fully implemented until 2023 in our state. The law legalizes medical marijuana for adults and minors with certain conditions under a doctor's recommendation. To get legally approved to use the drug, you have to visit a doctor who has a current license to practice medicine in Alabama and has passed an exam on medical marijuana. The doctor has to verify that a person has a qualifying medical condition and determine that conventional medical treatment or therapy has failed to help symptoms for 16 qualifying medical conditions. As of right now, it doesn't legalize medical marijuana for everyone. Say, for example, you have symptoms like chronic back pain or an eating disorder. According to the law, those conditions aren't covered. Medical marijuana is allowed in the form of an oral tablet and several other ways. It is not approved to be smoked, vaped, covered in sugar, or put into food or sold as a raw plant. The State Cannabis Commission will also establish one universal flavor. The fund is sponsored by the Business Council of Alabama and comprised of a committed team of more than 60 professionals providing loss control, claims management, and information services that help our members maintain successful programs and save money. We've been serving Alabama employers for more than 40 years and cover more than 150,000 employees, covering $4 billion in payroll in our state. Our focus is solely on workers' compensation insurance, no other type of insurance. We know the employers, employees, and the medical and legal community and partner with each stakeholder to ensure successful outcomes. The fund. It should be your fund. Again, my name is Lauren Traylor, Program Development Director for the Alabama Self-Insured Workers' Comp Fund. For more information on workers' compensation coverage, please call an independent agent in your community. What makes the fund different? It's the difference we make to you.